The pressure to mask who we are and hide our true identity.
It's a topic that award-winning speaker, author, and empowerment expert Ritu Bhasin knows about firsthand as the child of working-class parents of color. It's also a topic she covers in her new book right here, We've Got This, Unlocking the Beauty of Belonging. For more on this, Ritu joins us now here in studio. Welcome to the morning show.
Thank you. It's so nice to be back.
It is a pleasure to have you back here. Where do you feel the issues of assimilation and hiding our true identity stem?
So I can tell you that based on my work and my research in this space, we hide our identities because of the fear of judgment or the fear of bias coming our way. When we feel like people are going to take love and opportunities away from us based on our identities, that's what causes us to push down who we are, and it strikes at our belonging.
Mm-hmm. Now, as a matter of fact, you write in the book, the reality is that I feel lost. After years of curating my image, I feel so disconnected from myself, and with all of the hateful messages that have come my way, I'm so confused about my cultural identities. How difficult was it for you to find your identity?
It was a real challenge. Growing up as a child of immigrants, I watched my parents struggle with all kinds of inequities, but then I also had my own experiences with childhood bullying that was relentless, but it was also rooted in racism. And so from a young age, I learned that something was wrong with me and I should push down who I am. And I took this spirit into my adulthood, into the work world when I first started working on Bay Street as a lawyer and then in leadership. And I was in my mid-30s when I had a realization, and I tell a story that I kick off the book with, around having this voice in my head say to myself, who am I going to be in this moment? Because I had become so used to putting out personas, like curated images of who I am, instead of being who I am. And by the way, I know that my story resonates with so many people because so many of us internalize from a young age that something's wrong with us, and we create these curated images.
And also talk about the concept of belonging and the importance of it.
So I define belonging as being the profound feeling that we hold within ourselves of being honored and accepted for who we are, first and foremost by our own selves. And this is what inspires us and encourages us to claim belonging with others. And here's the thing about belonging. We as human beings, as animals, we are wired to crave belonging. We all want to be seen and accepted and honored for who we are. And in fact, we know from increasing loneliness studies that, first of all, we're in a loneliness epidemic. We feel more disconnected than we ever have, and largely stemming from the last few years of isolation. But that when we experience social rejection, like our bodies clock this as physical pain, or the same region of the brain that's activated when we are hungry is triggered when we feel loneliness. And so our bodies crave belonging. And so after today, if you've ever wondered, like, oh my goodness, why do I always have this longing feeling to be loved and liked? It's not because something's wrong with you, it's because we are actually literally wired to crave this.
Mm-hmm. You know, this is such an important topic, as is diversity, equity, inclusion, which I know you have been a passionate advocate for and about for some time now. Why is it important to you to promote awareness regarding these issues?
So if we go back to the definition of belonging and what belonging is about, if belonging is rooted in this idea of you get to be who you are as much as possible, and this is what will open up the doors to acceptance for yourself. First and foremost, you belonging to yourself and with others. Equity, diversity, inclusion is all about, let me create an environment, let me create a dynamic, let me create this experience where you get to be who you are. So when we cultivate equity and inclusion in particular, this is what helps us to unlock belonging. They go hand in hand.
Do you think you said we are born with this innate desire. In most families and family dynamics, you'd think that you have that sense, and then do you think it erodes over time the more you grow and get immersed into school environments, work environments, and then you have to build that sense of belonging back up?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it, Carolyn. In the book, I talk about how, as babies, like we're born as unmolded clay, and the clay gets sculpted by all of the elders and peers and colleagues and those who influence us, and we become molded. I think as children, it's way harder for us to be who we are because our elders essentially control our behaviors, and we get all kinds of messaging.
Right.
It gets much easier to be who we are as adults, but the problem is, by the time we're older, we've already internalized social conditioning around what makes us wonderful and where we're broken. And so the real work starts as adults when we start to shed these negative narratives that we've internalized. And that was certainly my story and the deep self-healing work that I have had to do over years to let go of that negative messaging and to be in a place where, like, I finally feel so beautiful inside and out about who I am.
All right, well, this is a really interesting discussion, and we've got this. Unlocking the Beauty of Belonging is available now anywhere, of course, that you can buy books. Ritu, great to see you again, and thanks for coming by.
God bless. Thank you so much for having me.